Hi, my name is Winsley, and welcome to my video covering 5 more amazing changes that we're getting in the Open Watcher beta for Age of Wonders 4. This latest update is from July 20th. I did a video last week covering the last set of changes to the update, and I did a video a week before that covering the open beta and the big long list of patch notes we have here at the bottom. This video is going to focus mostly on the latest changes that we have here, a couple of the ones that I find a little bit more interesting than, say, like all these fixes to the world map here at the end, and one or two details from the original set of patch notes that I didn't initially notice. I was more focused on things like combat. I think those kinds of changes are slightly more interesting than the economic side of things or the technology side of things. But they're yeah, as a result, I missed one or two things in here that are worth highlighting. As they mention in the notes here, this is very likely going to be one of the last open beta updates that we get before the Watcher update is just the official version of Age of Wonders 4. At the point where they can't change the text, but I think they can still tweak a few numbers, the things that are kind of like operating behind the scenes. And then they're going to try and make it a slightly more stable version so that people don't have crashes during multiplayer and things like that. But yeah, I think we can jump into the first thing I wanted to highlight, which has to do with excavation provinces. They now are going to have a new FX right here. It mentions that excavatable provinces in the underground now have a special FX to show the structure node is hidden underneath. Let's go take a look at the game to actually show that off. All right, so if we look here at the underground stuff that I can excavate, we click on this button, you can kind of see the options for things I can excavate. We basically have two choices here. One that has this little particle effect that looks like there's a bunch of lights floating off of it. And then there's this boring, barren looking one over here. This means there's not going to be a node underneath it. This means there's going to be a node here, and that means you're probably going to want to excavate this and this after that and attach it up to your city as soon as possible because, well, that's going to be a lot of uh, nodes that can boost your economy. I really like this change. It's going to make playing in the underground a lot more easy and a lot more efficient. And I think that I'm going to actually be playing underground a little bit more in multiplayer now. It's, I think, competitive with the other choices, but I don't know. I could be wrong about that. Yeah, as you can see here, we just got this node to appear in that province, the iron deposit. And if I send this guy over here and clear out this one, it will have a node. This one was empty. If I wanted to clear out another empty one, I could look at this one right here. That one doesn't have the special particle effect. But if I did want lots of nodes, I would go for like this one, and then next turn this one, and then maybe that. If that has the particle effect, it's kind of hard to see from here. But yeah, more nodes. That one actually had a node and a spawner. That's a lot of easy experience. The next thing that I wanted to talk about here, the next change, is the change to underground passages. They're supposed to have a visual that tells you a little bit more about the owned territory. I think when you see something like this, it's showing that no, somebody owns that side of the underground passage. But I believe that means that on this side, you should be able to see a little bit more about, well, somebody else is in control of the other side. But this seems like it's the same indicator as what other people see um, over any underground passage. Like if I go down to, I think there was another one right here. Oh, it's got the Marauder symbol on this one. And on this side, it's got an empty thing here. I'm not sure if that's the indicator that they're talking about. If anybody knows more about what they're talking about, please feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. But yeah, sometimes it looks like it's this empty black thing. I have to imagine if this guy actually owned this territory, that it would show up like mine with the orange, and maybe if I was on the other side, I'd be able to see a little bit more information about that, but um, I wasn't able to get that to pop up in my tests here. So I did just take a minute to double check that. Yeah, this guy has now expanded out into this space so that he owns the other side of the passage. And when we go down here, we see the banner for that ruler on this side, but it doesn't seem like this shows any indication that he's on the other side, which I thought was what that was trying to get at. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that you can now like settle things on the other side of an underground passage. But yeah, here it doesn't say anything. It doesn't say anything about how I'm about to enter like enemy domain. So yeah, who knows? All right, so the next big change I wanted to talk about was a change to the spell Hold the Line, which is a feudal spell. If we go in here um, and try to do this combat, I can show off the spell. It's now only able to go on each unit once per combat, so you can't just keep units alive with 1 HP forever. This is the one that gives them steadfast and makes it so they're just like really hard to kill. So like theoretically, this guy could get a bunch of damage done to him, and then I could give him steadfast once using hold the line or and a bunch of other units. But that's it essentially. I can't just keep using this over and over and over again. It doesn't say anything about that here, so I guess I could just put that on him. I won't have the casting points to cast it again. But that's basically how it's supposed to work. That I'm not supposed to be able to cast it again on him in one fight. The next thing we're going to talk about here are lenses. They're part of the new Magic Victory type, and they make it so that you have some pretty big bonuses to the affinities essentially. Just need to find them in here. Oh, that's right. There's city buildings, so I have to search for them up here. I believe, yeah, the lenses are pretty powerful. Like these bonuses are a lot better than the matrices. The matrices are cheaper, and I believe you unlock them at a lower wizard's tower. This is something that I have a lot less experience with, and I know they've changed a little bit with the latest update. They made it so that the amplify lenses damage bonuses is reduced from +10 to +20. Is that supposed to be this one? Yeah, I think that's talking about astral, not amplifier lenses, because that's saying +10 damage instead of 20. Nature bolstering matrix. Is that what I read? Yeah, so that's the other one is changed a little bit, and I believe the matrices they come online a little bit earlier. So this one got changed as well as a few other things. I think it says you no longer need the bolstering matrix from the same affinity to get the amplified lenses. Now they just require any bolstering matrix, which is interesting. Um, Pretty powerful effects here. Let's take a look at the city to see how we get to lenses. I believe in order to get to lenses, you need to have a wizard's tower. So in order to get that wizard's tower, I think we need that building. We can come in here, get our foundation, get this wizard's tower 1. And I think once we get to wizard's tower 2, that's when we start to see these matrices. Um, and then, yeah, I think once you have a matrices, you can get a um, what's it called? The amplifier lenses. It might require a couple more upgrades, like with the Wizard's Towers, Apex. Yeah, you need the Apex basically in order to get to the lenses. So that's the criteria to get here. And let's actually go back to here to actually take a quick look at the lenses themselves, because I haven't looked at the numbers too closely, and I think it's worth just discussing briefly at the very least. You got the order one, get spirit damage. It's easier to do debuffing spells, removing all positive status effects from targets, or all order debuff spells remove all positive status effects from their targets. Interesting. So you can use that against enemies to debuff them. Debuff spells also inflict misfortune with the chaos. Alright, so this one's about taking away their things like fortune. Very good. Actually, if they've got like a bunch of fortune. This is about like countering fortunes very specifically, or making it so that they're gonna fumble more. Pretty powerful if you can get enough of that on your enemies. But yeah, it looks like all these are now plus 10 instead of plus 20. Okay, that makes sense based on what I was reading earlier. This makes it easier to do status effects with the shadow. Astral guys can sunder resistance, making it easier to do magic damage in general. That's pretty good. Nature amplifier, yeah, it makes people weakened so that they do less damage. Materium sunders defense, so you can do physical damage to the enemies. Alright, now that we're done talking about lenses, I think we can take a little look at the matrices, or the matrix. There's multiple of them, so matrices, right? This one makes it so Chaos Bust and Healing Spells grant 3 strength, and I find this a little bit more interesting than the lenses. The lenses seem very generic, whereas this seems to be like just the affinities special tricks. Order buffs can now grant fortune. That's a lot of crit chance. Order's very good with that change. And then this makes it so you can get more HP from healing. I don't like that at all. Shadow buffs give you evasion, can be great, but I think now that melee doesn't get to bypass evasion, it's not quite as good. Evasion counters marked, mark counters invasion. That's a good thing to have in the tooltip. I think that's a new change, and I really approve of the counters being listed off there, because there's a lot of effects. It's easy to forget that you can counter things like that. I was just thinking about how misfortune is like designed to help you deal with fortune, but I don't think people are quite using it like that. They did change misfortune, so it's slightly better. Hopefully people use it a little bit more to deal with the fortune spamming. It's like you can't debuff as easily in this game, but you can counter, which is neat. Um, and yeah, bolstering defense makes sense for Materium. I did hear that you do get some Imperium from structures, like these lenses and matrices, and I'm not sure what the easiest way is to check that, but I think I was getting some Imperium from my Wizard's Tower and the different upgrades. Started off with 40, then we got plus 1, 2, 3, 4. Times 5 would be, yeah, that'd take me up to 60 Imperium a turn. And yeah, that's everything I have for you in this video. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you around in the next one. Ow.